so feeding the funnel. So here's our role. Now that we can hear everything, you have a hand icon on your dashboard. If you have a question, raise your hand. I will be watching that and try to get to you. If you don't really want to say it out loud, like you don't want to chat about it, and you just want to type it in, you can go down to the questions. Please don't go to the polls or the chat because I can't watch but so many of these at once. And ask your question there, and I'll do my best to answer it or pawn it off on Angel if she's better suited, which she generally is, to answer questions. So, all right. So if you have a question, put it in the question section. Hit the hand if you would rather use your microphone to be heard and ask your questions, because sometimes that's just easier for people. And we're going to get started. So feeding the funnel, this is a course that we put together after just a ton of questions about lead gen. So we want to talk a little bit about having a plan and how it works into the plan, but also really how to interview vendors, what's a good value for your money, what could actually have a return on value, and what may not. So this is designed to be kind of a Q&A at some points, and we've got time because, you know, we're snowed in, we're not going anywhere. And, you know, I think everybody on here knows who the two of us are. So here's what we're doing today. We're going to help you save some money, hopefully, because we have seen a lot of people make some pretty silly purchases in the name of getting their business. And it is not unheard of. Matter of fact, it's pretty frequently said by most vendors. Well, if this such and such gets you just one more transaction a year and it pays for itself, wouldn't you do it? And the question is, or the statement is, no, I wouldn't do it for just one more or even two more. It's got to not only make me money, it's got to save you money in other places. So we'll talk about that. Making wise investments. How do we interview these folks? What questions should you be asking? How do we increase conversion for what we have? And then just look at the efficacy of what you already have available to you and what you have going on, and deciding when is it time to dump something and when is it time to do something different. So that's what we'll be covering today. And I'm actually, I don't know that we put indicators on these slides, so I'm going to kick this one over to you, Angel.
And no, we did. So that's your slide.
Okay, maybe I was just trying to get out of talking so much.
Maybe.
Okay, so we talk about this a lot in a lot of our sessions, but I feel like very often we don't get heard about the importance of this. A consumer persona is essentially going to be a model of who you're trying to reach and how you're trying to reach them. We currently have 4 generations of consumers in the marketplace right now, and I think we can all admit that reaching a 27-year-old first-time home buyer, and in your marketing also trying to reach a 65-year-old veteran seller, is probably very difficult. And I know a lot of agents have tried very hard to do that in their marketing, and it doesn't work. It's basically then just trying to set yourself out apart from everybody else by talking about yourself. And in this world and in this marketing channels that we have available to us as agents, very often we need to be able to target one particular group of people with that ad. Now, I'm pretty much a firm believer in not doing the shotgun approach, not throwing a bunch of stuff out there in a bunch of channels and spending a bunch of money with the hopes that somebody will come back, but rather targeting who we are thinking about when we're writing copy, and not just ad copy for getting clients, but listing copy. So if I am sitting down to type up what I want people to know about this house, agents who aren't thinking this through, who aren't considering a specific person in mind or family or group or demographic, tend to write very vague and very boring ad copy. And so when we're looking at what lead gen systems we want to put into place, we need to make sure that it identifies with our consumer base. So here's some numbers that you've probably heard me say before. The average age of a real estate agent is 58. The average age of a broker is 63. The average age of a consumer in Virginia is 37. And I think most of us are going to agree that a 37-year-old and a 58-year-old probably communicate a little bit differently. And so using CBX and using RPR, we can get an idea of who the target consumer is in our marketplace. So when we're writing a copy, or we're investing in a lead generation tool, or we're spending time. And when I say invest, there's 2 types of investment we'll talk about later. One is your personal time, which still has a cost and some value, as well as paying cash to somebody else for a product. And I want to make sure that my time or my money is spent the best I can. So building a persona, let's say the family, it's an average family of mom and dad and 2.5 children. They commute 37 minutes a day on average. They make 90,000 a year. They have 30% or 20% debt in their lives of their income each year. I mean, you start building that model, it helps you to formulate who you're going to work with. And I'd go so far as to even say, grab a picture of the family that matches the demographics in your area and all the information you've gotten from RPR and from CBX, and even have it there as a visual stimulation or reminder of who you're talking to and how do they find information. They don't, for example, a 37-year-old is rarely going to be finding information in the newspaper. But if you're listing a high-end luxury home, they may very well be in the newspaper.
I think so. CBX and RPR, it's great to kind of, determine the type of people that are living there. But if you are an experienced agent, I would take a look at maybe, your buyer segment, the last 5 or 10 buyers that you worked with, and the last 5 or 10 sellers that you worked with, and what do they have in common? And so if you're finding that it's a specific type of buyer or seller, like maybe they are in the military or something like that, just find something that that is a common denominator and speak to those people. I mean, it's great that you have, that history of clients that you've worked with. And, I think that's a good way to build your consumer personas if you've already worked with some clients.
Yep. All right. This is you.
Okay. So there's a couple of different types of marketing I guess, tasks that you're doing when you're online. So we wanted to, this is one of the reasons for this class. A lot of times agents will invest in a system and they think it's not doing anything. So they haven't gotten any leads from it. But the reality is that system may just be for brand awareness. So there's brand awareness and lead generation. So brand awareness is exactly what it sounds like. It's awareness for your brand, getting your name, logo, your brand identity in front of the consumer. It doesn't necessarily compel them to act, but it creates this idea of brand equity. So, when you're seeing logos for Coca-Cola everywhere, I mean, that's brand awareness. The goal of brand awareness is for the person to think of you when they're in need of the services that you're offering. Okay, so lead generation is totally different. Lead generation has one single purpose, and that's to gather information from that consumer. So that's mainly done with landing pages, but to get the consumer contact information, you have to offer something of value to them in exchange for that, really good info that you're trying to get from them. You're trying to identify the people that need your services now. So kind of taking that into the physical world, like a billboard and even yard signs are a good example of brand awareness, but open houses would be a good example of lead generation because those are people that are actually interested in doing something now and you're getting their information. Does that make sense?
Yes,
I'm seeing everybody nod their head.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I know they're all nodding their heads.
I think maybe I was talking to you.
Yes. So when you have lead gen and brand awareness and you marry that to the consumer personas, it should trigger in your mind every time you're making a decision on what to spend time on or what to spend money on, to say, is this lead gen and is this brand awareness and what's my target audience? Because we're starting to help you build a model as to making good decisions for your investments. Because otherwise, I've seen way too many agents, Angel's seen way too many agents go broke or get in serious debt in their first few years or even their later years because they're just making bad decisions and having no plan or direction.
Right. So there are a lot of different things, obviously, you can do out there. There's paid systems and there's free stuff. So your free stuff is going to be your social media, of course, being able to engage with your SOI through social media, from your videos, content marketing. A lot of this stuff is actually going to be on the brand awareness side because that's what's going to come, that's supposed to have them think of you when they're in need of your services. So the top of mind awareness kind of thing. E-newsletters and just being involved in the community. Those are kind of the free brand awareness tasks or stuff that you can do. Some of the paid ones are print ads. And a lot of that, the print ad stuff is actually just in brand awareness unless you can have a really good call to action to compel somebody to go to a website or call you or email you their information. The aggregators like your Zillow and Realtor.coms, you can pay for those leads from them. Different websites like Boomtown or TorchX, those are lead generation sites. So you pay a lot for them. So if you're thinking of the sales funnel, so like an upside down triangle, the top of the funnel, you get a lot more people that might be that you can get information from. And there's a top of the funnel, the middle of the funnel, and the bottom of the funnel. The top of the funnel are people that are less likely to convert, but they don't cost a lot of money to get. So your AdWorks, retargeting ads possibly would be in that category. The bottom of the funnel are going to be your Zillow and Realtor.com leads and possibly Boomtown. Those cost a lot of money, but they're more likely to convert, but there's not going to be as many people that belong in that category.
And that's all I have to say about that. No, I do. This free topic leads to our next point, and this has been kind of I don't know. This was an aha moment for me, probably my second year in the business or so, that nothing was free. I did a lot of do-it-yourself stuff. I still do. A lot of my web pages, most of that stuff are things that I do my own. And by and large, it's because I enjoy doing them. To go build the web page, work on some social, do some graphic, creative work, lets my brain take a break from all the other decisions that have to be made and all the questions that come in and all the real more challenging and difficult things. And so I am not unaware that when I'm sitting there spending 4 hours trying to figure out why a specific plugin isn't working, that I've probably spent a couple $100 that I could have paid somebody else to do for 15 bucks. So, but it's part of my hobby, I guess, if you will. So not everybody enjoys doing all the stuff you need to do. And there are times where even if you do it, there may be somebody who's better at it. I am, and I think I speak for Angel here, huge fans of Fiverr. I wanted a new branded logo for myself as an instructor, and I could sit there and burn myself out trying to play with not Illustrator, InDesign, or Photoshop, because those are the limit of my time, because I have not mastered Illustrator, because I'm not inherently a talented artist, actually not at all a talented artist. But I can go spend 20 bucks on Fiverr, and then 2 days later, I've got 4 options of someone who does this all the time. And sure, it may be derivative of some other work they've done, but it was 20 bucks, and I got a logo that I liked. So you do have to account for your time. The average agent who desires to make $100,000 a year, this is typically a year 1 or 2 financial goal, $100,000 a year, on average number of hours an agent works, is probably worth about 45, 47 bucks an hour. So not only for your marketing time, but for your just career time, there are times where we have to make a decision. I love working outside in the yard, but there are times where it makes a lot more sense financially to call a landscaper to come out. And we have somebody who will come out, if I'm traveling or busy. And it's just a matter of what you're spending your time on. So if you're spending a long time building flyers, for example, that still has a cost. At some point, when you get more stable in your career, and this is why when we talked at Blue Start and we talk about having that reserve, what do you do with the check, the commission check that comes in? Only 25% goes to household bills, 20% goes back to your business. And so you have money on hand to say, this makes sense for me to hire someone to, I don't know, put something together, whatever that something is. Or if you don't like working on web pages and you want somebody else to try it, then maybe paying them. In the early stages, I think you should work on your stuff on your own, so you know how it works and when you're being BS, when somebody's offering to do it for money or whatever, but also so you can put your voice to it. So working on your web page on a Sunday night while you're watching football or TV or whatever it is time well spent, because you are kind of winding down, but it could work for a very long time. And those web pages and things are there to be updated. I don't know if I'm skipping ahead or if we just took it out of this session, Angel. So sorry if I'm stealing part of your thunder here. I think that a lot of time we discount web pages because we are like, that web page isn't working for us. I no longer believe a web page should work for you. I believe you have to work for the web page. So if you're putting together content and blogging information and resources for your consumer, that's going to make that website work. If you're just paying money to a vendor to pour down leads on you, you're going to get just a bunch of names and email addresses. It's
Yeah.
content
So
people connect with.
you're
Good.
talking about the paid sites like Boomtown and
Right.
SourceX, right? Not
Yeah.
not just your personal web page. Yeah. I mean, I think we'll probably talk about it later on, but the key to those things is, you're paying a lot of money up front per month, but that's because they're trying to get you a huge volume of contact information. But I think you also have to have realistic expectations on what those how those leads should convert. So if you have 1,000 leads and national stats say that their online leads should convert between 1 to 3%. So out of those 1,000, I mean, so let's say 2%, that's 20 transactions you could get out of those 1,000 leads. I mean, that's actually a great number. But if you're expecting a huge amount to convert, it's just not going to happen with online leads. So you have to kind of know what to expect before you jump into these things.
So yeah, those stats, just for clarification, agents convert between 1 and, what is it, 6%?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 6 or 7 is really high when you're talking online conversion. I would say
Yeah,
realistically, you'd be under 4.
correct. So agents, that's the agent conversion rate. The reality is that 48% of inquiries eventually buy or sell. So,
Right.
yeah. So if you're doing, so as Angel said, if you're doing 4% of 1,000 leads, that's still good because none of your
Mm-hmm.
marketing should be all in one basket, right? Your web page should not be your only source of lead. You still have to work your sphere of influence, work past clients, all that kind of stuff.
Right. I mean,
So if
4% of 1,000, that's 40 transactions right there.
yeah, that's exactly right. And so the question that comes,
People would kill for that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly right. So if I'm signing up and I know I'm going to get 1,000 leads this year, and I know that if I am actually working my ass off and doing all those right things, I'm going to get 20 to 30 transactions. The question is, do I have the infrastructure to manage those leads? And we do. We give you 5Street and a bunch of other stuff to do that. Zap certainly does all that when you're setting it up correctly and using it correctly. So before you make crazy investments like $2,000, $2,500 a month for a web page, is your 5Street set up? Is your Zap set up? What CRM are you going to use? Can you handle 30 transactions a year, or are you going to be wasting $3,000 a month on a web page that you now get overloaded because you can only handle 15 transactions a year? So some other things to consider. Well, actually, the slide, we kind of already started this slide.
We did talk about, yeah.
Some things to consider. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So what are your expectations for the site? So for example, if I am signing up for Zillow and they are promising me just a crap ton of leads and they go, yeah, we're going to get you, I don't know, what are they saying now? 150 leads a month? Is that reasonable?
I don't know. I think it depends on what you buy.
Yeah, I think the last time I heard it, it was somewhere around if you paid $600 a month, you're going to get 150 to 200 leads a month. I think that was what I heard from them when I talked.
They're not scrubbing them anymore.
That's right.
I think they made that change. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are your expectations? You go, wow, I'm going to get 200 leads. All right. So let's say you're good at converting 2% of those 200 leads. So you're going to get 4 transactions. Do you have everything in place? Is this going to be the quality that you're looking for? And knowing that you're really going to have a chance if you have everything in order and you're going to work those leads, can you do 4 transactions a month? I hope. I mean, that would be awesome if you did. So if you're doing 48 transactions a month, we're talking a team of 3 to 4 people in most cases. What happens is these leads, and I hate calling them leads, but we're just going to do that because that's the vernacular we've chosen for today. But they're real people, right? These are people who, let's pretend that Zillow and Realtor and all the rest are not trying to cheat the system. We know years ago some companies, Home.com got caught doing that, creating fake leads. Let's presume in this world we don't have a whole lot of that. We do know that those leads, though, are emailing up to 4 agents every 45 minutes of active searching. So that lead that's coming into you from Zillow or Realtor has already emailed a whole bunch of other agents. And when you start parsing out the agents who aren't responsive, it gets to much more narrow field of people. But we know that that consumer wants a response in under 15 minutes, actually under 7 minutes, but no longer than 15 for real conversion numbers. When you get longer than 15 minutes, the conversion opportunity is almost gone. This is why we put 5 Street in place to help you with that. So what are the quality of those resources available? Well, what is Zillow going to help you do to convert leads? They're not. They're going to send you a bunch of names. They're not washing them or scrubbing them. They're just going to hand them to you. So then that leaves it up to you to do that work. It's not simply responding once by email. We talk about this in a lot of our classes, that journey for that client. Let's just assume it's 2 years and you don't know where they are in the 2 years. What resources do you have available to reach out to them? Do you have the CRM set up? Poppy has built I think it's a 2-year library in Zap for buyers. But you need to tweak it. Is it going to be yours? What are you going to send to them? How are you going to engage them? What are your resources there to help you with this conversion so you're not wasting your money? What's your comfort level of this system? So, for example, if you looked at offers.com, offers.com works on big data and predictive models, and they do a lot of work in the background. They send out surveys, they do emails, they do follow-ups. But when they send you a name, it's for a seller. It's a seller that they've identified as a high probability of listing in the next 6 months to 1 year. And then they're going to prompt you, send a letter, give them a phone call, stop by the house and drop off a packet. And that system that you're paying for that could run, I don't know, we did a moderate size subdivision. It was 300 or 400 a month. Do you understand how big data works? Do you understand how predictive models? Do you understand that that seller has no idea that the surveys that have come to them and the phone calls and the mailers and all that, we're targeting them as sellers. They may not know they're ready to sell. So you need to understand a little bit about how that works before you invest in a system just because they told you about big numbers. Target audience. I'll let Angel take this from here, other than to say, consider whether you're looking for buyers or sellers. And I think both Angel and I have some pretty strong feelings about that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different options out there for lead generation for buyers and sellers. So we did try one seller website, but I think it's one of those things where we just didn't realize the time involved, and that's another thing to consider, is just having the systems in place to follow up on these things. And even with all the stuff that we do, we still kind of drop the ball sometimes. There's a lot of different pricing levels, so you have to just price around. We recently actually invested in a program for you guys for marketing your listings online, so on social, and we're going to send out an email about that. But we talked to 2 different companies, and their costs varied so much. One had a $10,000 startup fee, and one had 0 startup fee. So you just make sure, even if one company sounds amazing and they're doing everything that you want, price another company just to make sure that you're getting the best deal out there. And of course, there's time involved in setting up whatever this system is. If it's a website, you need to have all of local content in there. I mean, a lot of it, if it's done really well, can get you a lot of great leads, but there is time involved, and not just the money that you're spending.
Yeah, and again, knowing who you're targeting. So for me, I prefer listings. I think Angel prefers listings because of our what we enjoy doing, right? We enjoy the creative part of marketing and advertising, but also it's a time issue. So for a listing, I can manage a listing at home at 11 o'clock at night on a Sunday, getting marketing together. But running around all day Saturday to take buyers out, it just isn't what I enjoy doing anymore, and I don't have time for it. It's not my primary goal. A lot of agents do invest heavily in buyer leads, but almost every successful agent model that you will see over the 107 years of organized real estate has shown that your top producing and your surviving agents are primarily listing agents, because you control inventory, you can control your time, and listings generate more listings and buyers, so not just buyers. So if you already have, your weekends are booked for the next 3 months because you've got tons of relo and you've got tons of regular buyers and you're just a super, super popular person and you got all these buyers, there's only so much time in a day or week or a month for you to work with them. And so perhaps you should start focusing a little bit more of your marketing dollar and ideology towards sellers because you're already doing it okay with the buyers. You already got that going, and sellers are more sustainable. So, what's your knowledge of the targeted niche or niche, depending on what mood you're in? I'm going to go with niche because it sounds a little fancier. With your targeted niche, because you don't, yeah, I was thinking there's a joke there about quiche. I can't get there, but I'm sure there's one.
No, there's no joke there.
The knowledge of your targeted niche. If I wanted today to run out and start selling equestrian farms, I keep using horse farms. I've sold one in my career, and I honestly put more work, more study, and more effort into trying to figure out who the target was and how to sell and speak that language without sounding like an idiot than I probably have any other listing. And I would love to do more of those. But what I realized at the end of that transaction is I did not speak horse fluently enough to be an asset to my seller or buyer. And so since that time, the other two horse farm opportunities I've had, I have referred to people. In this case, it would be Poppy, who is out riding every weekend and falling off every other weekend. Because she knows a lot more about it. If I were gonna get a home downtown, and I feel like I'm a fairly accomplished marketer and listing agent, but I would, if there was a historic home for 1.8 million, I would probably ask at least to co-list with Robin or someone who has expertise downtown, and specifically with historic homes. Even having been born and raised here, I'm not an expert in it. So I don't go out tomorrow and go, man, I really want to be a luxury agent. You can't just flip that switch and all of a sudden you're going to be a luxury agent.
You can't do that.
I was really waiting for you to pick up the baton there because I know that's your whole shtick.
No, but you can eat. So if that's what you want to do, whatever that niche is, you can start speaking to that on your social media stuff, sharing content based on the type of people that, the type of agent that you want to be. And that's kind of how you can start building that credibility and your personal branding based on the direction that you want to go in.
Yep.
That makes sense. Yeah. So like for me, if you look at all of my public accounts on Twitter and Instagram, it's all about smart home. So I think it's interesting now that I'm getting people to, for me to come over to their house or emailing me for recommendations. I even had somebody email me from North Carolina. She used to be a loan officer here. They moved down to North Carolina. They're building a house, and she's asking me what they should put in, from the builder perspective, but also after they move into the house. So it's a conversation that I'm having on a regular basis with people about their homes, but it doesn't have to do anything with real estate. So it's kind of it's a cool thing, but you have to be consistent about it.
Yep. And then of course the cost. What are the costs involved? It's never just the cost of the lead source. So if you found this luxury home lead generation machine and they're going to give you 3 luxury home listings a month, it's not the cost of just the system you're paying for, but your packets that you're mailing out or hand delivering are going to be a higher quality and more customized. And it may take you 2 or 3 hours to get a really good pre-listing packet together. Again, have you budgeted for those expenses and then the time involved? Like I said, all these sources should be a question of time. This is you.
Yeah, so we throw out a lot of stuff and you get a lot of stuff from different third-party vendors. One thing to remember, I mean, we say it all the time, that you can't do it all. You have to do some research and you have to, take the technology and kind of weave it into whatever you're doing, and just determine what the best systems are for you. Just because another agent was successful using one thing doesn't mean that's going to be right for you. So it is important to look at, what's available and what we offer that for you already that you don't have to pay for. So a lot of times, people are looking at CRMs that they're paying $200 a month for, when we already have a system that actually will do everything that you want to accomplish. So don't just pay for it just because it's out there. Ask us to see if we have a similar program.
Yep. And then not even on top of that, just not stressing out about getting it all done. Hopefully, if you're doing the things we're telling you to do and you're following your mentors, brokers, and coaches, you're going to have a very, very long career. There's nothing wrong with putting some stuff on a to-do list and getting to it once you have gotten handwritten notes down to a system. You're like, all right, I got my 5 handwritten notes I do every Monday afternoon. I'm good. Let's now go talk about the next thing. There are some critical things we think you should be doing. You absolutely should be doing. You should have a good bio, good video bio, your Realtor, Zillow, Coldwell Banker, and personal web pages should all be squared away. But those are a lot of set it and forget it kind of things initially. And again, we're not going to be the master of everything. I say this with some cynicism because that's just my nature. I tried the newspaper back when I first got started. I tried every little ad copy thing and graphic layout I could get, whatever I could afford, and I never, ever, ever converted anything. And that's back when the newspaper actually had some traffic. But there are other people who do well at it. That's part of their marketing plan. They know how to do personal branding in a newspaper setting. They already knew some people and it just triggered some thoughts. It just didn't work for me. So I abandoned that way earlier than before even the newspapers became less relevant with fewer readers. It just wasn't something I was good at. And I went to blogging, and blogging was very much what I was good at, and it was getting me a lot of business, and I enjoyed doing it. So I was just, I don't want to discourage you from trying new things. That's not, I want to be clear, that's not what I'm saying. But I want to make sure that you understand that no one expects you as an agent or even a team to be doing every single marketing idea and thing that's out there. This is a very expressionful graphic, so I'm assuming this is mine to talk about. Okay.
This is a very Matthew graphic.
This
Either
is
they're
me.
confused, or they're asleep, or they're lazy on the couch.
I like, people in various places in their life. In this case, this is
Of
how
confusion.
I feel at 2 o'clock every morning when I'm still working. So marketing requires time to mature. And going back to my conversation about web pages, I see a lot of abandoned and orphaned content. So I'll go out there and do a search on whatever it is in Fredericksburg, 5 places to take your kids on the weekend. And I find an agent page on page 2 of the search, not that I go that far, but let's just say. And I look at that result, and it's written in 2008. So I go look at the agent's webpage, and they were super busy posting in 2008, 9, 10, 11, and then kind of just slowed down. And I think, wow, if they just kept writing good content, they would have way more traffic here, because look, this 2008 post popped up 10 years later. And then they just stopped for some reason. Maybe they didn't see conversion, or they got bored, or they're not licensed anymore, whatever, and the webpage just exists, whatever it is. But nowadays, especially for content marketing, it takes a while to mature. I was sharing with Poppy and Angel a couple months ago. I get a phone call. It's about 10:30 at night or so, from a guy who has some land to sell, and I think it was over in Fauquier. And he found me in a directory, some type of phone directory for businesses that was put together in 2003. And he hung on to it because he liked something I had written in the article, because most of my ads are really just mini posts in a publication. And it was just something he hung on to, and he had it on, he was cleaning out a desk, and he found it, and he goes, hey, I'm thinking about selling, and here it is. So you can't abandon things just because you don't see them working immediately. We will talk later about when it's time to make some correction, but you can't just give up on it because it didn't work. You did a video and you're like, man, this video's been up for 4 days and I don't have 14 new listing opportunities. Angel just recently had an opportunity from a video, and I'll let her share if she wants to, but from a video that was done 2 years ago, and they hung on to information or stumbled on it. I don't remember the whole story. It takes time for some of this content marketing and online marketing to really get traction, or for them to call you back.
So kind of on a similar note, when you are buying a service like Boomtown, where it's lead generation, you're paying a lot of money for it, it's not something that you can just try for a month or two, because it takes time to put it together, number one. And you're probably going to have some sort of a contract anyway. But when you're investing in something like that, think of that long term. Are you going to be able to sustain paying $300, $400, $500 a month for the system for 3 or 4 years? Because a lot of times, you're going to need to keep it for that long, especially if that's going to be your whole presence online. So when when you're thinking of investing in a program, don't just think about it short term, because a lot of times it does require the maturity period. And also, you don't want to end up with nothing at the end of the 1 year that you try to build this website or whatever it is, and then you're going to have to do something else later on because you can't afford to keep the system.
Yep. All right, so you're saying I have 10 seconds. Okay, so you need a plan. You need a plan. Your personal marketing plan and your listing marketing plan are two different things, and you need to have those in writing several times. I'm going to say at least once a month. Somebody in the company calls me up and says, "Hey, can you sit down with me? I want to, think about this thing I just got this phone call on, or this opportunity came up with a local business who wants to co-market with me, or a loan officer called me about this or that." And my first question is always, okay, let me see your marketing plan. What are you already doing that this will fit into? And a lot of you just don't have a plan. You don't know what you're doing month to month or day to day. And so when you wake up in the morning, and all of you have heard me, I think almost everybody in this list has heard me talk about this, and you look at the mirror and you see your chief marketing officer, would you not expect that person to have a plan for your business, for your brand, for the year? And if they didn't, wouldn't you fire them? I mean, I think that would be pretty much every one of our decisions as a CEO is to fire a marketing person who doesn't have some sort of plan or routine idea of what needs to be done. Your listing marketing plan is triggered, of course, when you get the listing, and then there's certain steps you should be following. If you find that you're in a lab every single listing where you're trying to put together this ad or that ad, or did I get the sign out, and maybe I should do a video this time, or maybe I should do my Zillow video walkthrough or whatever it is, then you don't have a plan. You're simply throwing stuff together. There is a place for that in your business, but you should still have the basis of a plan, and then you can sprinkle a little more into it each time to see if it works. But you shouldn't be out there just throwing some stuff together, putting it in MLS, and then hoping for the best. That's what Paradigm is for, and your web pages and Facebook ads and all the rest should be part of a plan. And you should know what your goals are. And those goals should be set not just on, I want to make as much money as I can. I hate hearing that answer. The goal should be set on, how much good business can I do? How many people can I truly serve and serve well so that they refer to me, and that they come back to me when it's time to do this again? Because if you're just churning through all your friends and family right now because it's your first year or two in the business, and you're not treating them with a tremendous amount of care and thinking about that referral being part of your transaction, you're going to burn out in the first year or two. A matter of fact, there is another franchise I went to years ago before I came here. I was thinking about starting my own franchise, and I went to them. I walked out of the meeting. It was a 2-day meeting. They flew me out there. I walked out of there 3 hours into it because the chief recruiter stood up in this national brand and said, look, let's be honest. Every agent has X number of deals in their first 18 months, and then we know that 80% of them go away. And this is how you make your money off of those 3 to 4 deals they have in their first 18 months. That is not at all my mentality or Kevin's mentality or broker's mentality. It is way too much effort to find talented agents like you. We want to keep you. We want to keep you in business for decades. And that's going to require you to have some sort of goal for you as a business to reach, so that you can figure out how many leads you can properly handle, convert, and manage in good time. And then the last one is a strategy on how to get them and reach those goals.
Right.
So, as I said in the last slide, you should have, I love this graphic, and I know this is a very Matthew graphic.
Are you going to just stay here for 15 minutes?
One word, I got half my classes right here. I love experimenting with stuff. I love new ideas, new marketing resources, new tools. I love this graphic. I will put it in every slide deck that I can, because I feel like I'm leading this incredibly talented team of brokers and marketing people and staff. And I love when they sit down with a new idea. I love when they walk in and go, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Because we should be experimenting and we should be doing stuff. Folks, I won't stop saying this. We literally have world-class staff members here who have national recognition for the things that they do and are asked to speak and give input, and other firms and companies call our staff to give them advice and counsel about what we do. Because we do a lot of stuff early, that means some experiment. That means sometimes we're going to fail, sometimes we're going to win. And on a smaller level, you should be doing this in your business too, but only once you have the basics already down. When you know what your listing marketing plan is, and you know what your lead conversion plan is, then you start adding some stuff or trying something new or different when you've got a machine that's already working well. I thought there was a lot more indications here than there are. Evaluating effectiveness, the efficacy of a tool is very, very important. And here's what I find happens that's a huge mistake, in my opinion, for most agents. And that is to look at, for example, Zillow and go, man, I've been paying for 6 months for this. I've gotten 700 leads, but not one of those damn things is converted. And then just cancel it and just get rid of it. And the question is, why did you do that? Why did you not look at that? If you did all the things we've talked about at this point, then you should not have signed up for a service that you did not fit into your model and your plan, and that you understood and that you had resources to support. If it's not generating business, don't just get rid of it. Stop and think about what you need to change in you, what approach you need, what better resources or tools, what better ideology or training do you need to make that work. Again, 48% of online leads do eventually buy or sell. None of them do that in 30 days. It's very rare where a buyer is going to say, hey, can you tell me more about this house? And then you tell them more, and they come back and go, can I see it this weekend? Most of the time, they're going to say thank you. And that's when you put them into some type of CRM, communications plan, or marketing plan, or outreach program where you can go back to them over and over again. Don't just abandon the lead source or the lead because they didn't work in your short time frame. You have to look at it. Now, there are other systems that absolutely are not going to work. You've done everything. You have got the right mindset, the right training, all the right steps in place, and they still don't work. Then you get rid of them and find something to replace it. Or if something else is even better, if I'm paying Zillow $300 a month and I'm only getting 3 quality leads, but yet I got Boomtown and I'm getting 10 quality leads I can't keep up with, then of course you're going to get rid of the less effective program. And we're in this
if you're paying $300 for Zillow, you're going to get 3 leads.
Well,
unfortunately, that's also part of the mindset. If especially with Zillow, because there's so many people in it now, to really get a good number of leads from a system like that, you have to spend thousands of dollars. So maybe it's not worth spending your $200 on something like that. Maybe put it somewhere else, unless you can really take a lot of money and throw it into something like Realtor or Zillow. But maybe not worth it if you're only investing a couple $100. I would do something else.
Yep.
Okay. So when you're what? Yeah.
Spend your own time, like content marketing, doing something with that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Right. Okay. So when you're interviewing some of these vendors, there are some things to think about. Definitely things to consider. So the term of agreement. Obviously, if you can get a month-to-month agreement, that's going to be better than being stuck in something for a year or two. Getting references. A lot of times they'll have reviews on their website, and those are going to be the best reviews that they have. But ask to speak to somebody that's actually using the system. So they're going to give you names that obviously are going to give them a positive review or testimonial. But when you're having that conversation with that agent or that firm that's using the system, ask them about their process too, and not just how the system's working. Because a lot of times, if somebody's been using a system for 6 months to a year, they kind of have that process down and they know what works best. So don't just ask them about that system. Get more information from them. Ask them if they have referral or affiliate programs so you can get some money back. Did you have something else on that part, Matthew, the affiliate programs? I keep forgetting. No.
Only from a risk management standpoint, if you're talking about affiliate programs, like if you give us the name of your client, we'll give them a discount service. The client needs to know that they have to give you consent to put them into a program to get money back, but that's it. It's more risk management.
Okay. Interconnectivity of other tools. So that means, if if you're buying a bunch of leads from a website, does it connect with, let's say, a MailChimp or Constant Contact so that you can set up the follow-up plan very easily? So you're not having to manually take that contact information that you got from a landing page or website into your site. It should kind of seamlessly happen, because if it doesn't seamlessly happen, it's, you're going to forget to put them in the drip campaign or the follow-up plan. And just dropping the ball is very easy there. And that's why systems like Zap is great, because it's kind of all in one. So you know what your clients are looking at. They go to your website. As soon as they put in the contact information, it goes into a CRM. So there's really not a lot of work to do. So it's important when you're looking at other tools that they are connected with other systems that can help you manage those leads afterwards. What does it cost? Obviously, that's important, and any add-ons. So kind of this freemium world that we live in. So they're going to give you something for free, like, for example, Remind. It's a great system. I actually really love it. But you're only getting 100 contacts for free in there, and then after that, you have to pay 100 or $199 a month or something. So you have to kind of know what it's going to cost you if you want to continue getting more of the features. Do you have exclusivity in that territory, or are you having to share it with somebody else? And then again, the best price, like we said earlier, we had 2 systems we were looking at, exact same thing they're doing, but one was like enormously more expensive, and honestly don't really know why. So just make sure you're shopping.
Yeah, I want to say too, we don't have a bullet point here, but it's made me think about it in this last thing. The 2 companies that Angel's mentioning, it wasn't just the cost. That was a huge part of it, of course. That's what got our attention. But we also liked the people we were working with. In the first company we interviewed, they were a little, I don't know, aggressive and kind of slick back salesy, and they dodged a lot of questions. Yeah, and they also just assumed that we were idiots if we didn't choose their product. The second group that we interviewed, I thought were much more, even after we decided to make the purchase, were still much more supportive and listened to who we were. They were personable, they were real, and there was a please consider our business as opposed to you're an idiot for not signing up. I have found over the years, as we have, I don't know, Angel, how many just combined, probably 1,000 different vendors we've interviewed or talked to in our prior jobs in this industry.
Yeah,
a lot of it has always been, I go with somebody that I don't feel comfortable with them, but I like the product. It always goes badly. The person you're dealing with the other side, that gut feeling with them, to me has always been something that I go with. I think it's served me well.
Yeah, I mean, that is exactly how it works in real estate too. Consumers will choose agents because they like them and they trust them and they have something in common with them. So yeah, it definitely, that is important.
Never say yes on the first call is actually a pretty important premise. It's not only, I mean, I have been eager. I've sit there with, whether it be the first call or the first meeting, very, very, very rarely have I met with a vendor or a group, excuse me, and not saw some value in their product, right? There's been a few of them that we've said there's no value at all. But we don't ever say yes in the first call. We don't ever give them a credit card. We don't, we want to ponder it because there's some stuff we want to get into, look at. We want to get other agents or companies like ours who are using the product. We want to do some investigation of it. And don't get trapped in this special pricing. Well, you know what? We've got this price. It's 10% off to the end of the month. If you don't sign up then, I can't guarantee any discount. Almost every single vendor we've done this with that has said something like that, my response, it's a showstopper for me. And I will tell them, we don't make decisions quickly. If you want me to make a quick decision, it's because you're hiding something. That may not always be true, but it's always in the back of my mind. And so I'll tell them, you know what, if the price is not the same next month, we'll wait till you offer a better deal or another special. You can call me back next year if you offer the same deal. Surprisingly, every one of these vendors goes, quote unquote, to their manager to say, can we get an extension on this? And they always seem to get that extension. It's like the car dealership, unless you're going to someplace awesome like CarMax, the car dealership, that salesperson always needs to go talk to their manager. When they go back and have a cup of coffee, they know the answer and they come back out. Do not get pressured. And I've had 2 agents in just the past month come to me and say, do you know about this product? And can you get back to me quickly? Because this price or deal is only good for another 3 days. That deal is going to be there. And if it's not, and you tell them, call me back when the deal's back, it'll be interesting how quickly they find another special at some other point. A lot of these vendors will also say, hey, we've got training. So if you're getting a web page or offers or some service you're signing up for, they'll talk about training. Ask them to show you what kind of training is. Is it just a 3-minute YouTube video that shows you how to point and click? Or do they actually have someone who will talk you through and set it up for you, or sit on the phone with you while you set it up? What is the support that's there? And does that training require more money? This is actually a real common practice for some of these companies, that they sell you the product, they have a couple free YouTube videos, then they've got a community help site, which is other users like you helping one another, but you have to pay more if you're calling tech support. So you want to know the cost before going in. The interconnectivity of other tools. Does it work with your CRM? Does it work with Zap? Zap has a bunch of tools. I'm sorry, what do they call those, Angel? I don't know what the Zap store, is that what it's called? I don't know. In Zap, there's a place where you can go find out other systems like MailChimp or other things that work with Zap. Or if you're using Follow Up Boss, for example, I know they work with MailChimp and DocuSign and Dotloop and all those. So find out what other tools or resources connect with it. And does it fit into your current marketing plan? If you have been really focused on first-time home buyers for a year and a half, and you get a phone call from someone out of the blue saying, I can connect you to luxury home buyers in your area for only $400 a month, there's a disconnect there, right? That's not what your marketing, your branding, your resources or tools are connected with. You need to create those things to support whatever new tool or client base or target audience that you're engaging in, not the other way around.
Nope, I'm going to say sign me up, dude.
Oh my gosh.
$400? Okay. All right. So
I just suspended your Amex card.
We're just going to say sorry later. We talked a lot about expectation already. And again, reasonable expectation and knowing what to expect, knowing what those conversion rates are. That's really important. Don't just jump into a system and not really have an idea of what's supposed to convert, and kind of make that in line with what your goals are. Did the resource bring at least a 30% return on investment? So your ROI is not just, like Matthew said earlier, not just the money you're spending, it's your time and the expense. That's your full investment. So you kind of have to figure out what you're worth and add that to the expense of the product. And that's your investment. And have you done everything that can be done to maximize the results? That's really important, and again, the follow-up plan, we talk about follow-up plans all the time, but if you don't have a way to manage these leads, these people, you're just not going to convert them. Have one phone call or one email is not going to do it. You need regular communication with them, and that's where Zap, and you need something. You don't have to use Zap. There's a lot of other follow-up plans out there, but you have to have that in place in order to convert. I mean, that's just a given at this point. And does it fit into your marketing plan, like Matthew said earlier?
And I mentioned this a little bit earlier, just repositioning a tool. So you may have been looking at Zap, and you went in and you did your web page, and that's it. That's your 2 cents, right? That's all your work you did. Go look at Zap again, because there's some blogging options that are set up that you can get some content, or you can share the link, or you can do other things to build a following there. It could be your Facebook business page, and you go, you know what? I've had the business page there. It's been underperforming. I don't know how to get people there. What do I need to do with this? And then start looking at, maybe this is the lead gen tool you want to build a tribe and build some content and stop paying other people. I'm not saying one's good over the other, by the way. Just simply putting together a plan to say, yeah, I've had this resource for a while, but I haven't been really utilizing it. Maybe it's time now that I take a look at it again. Don't dismiss it just because you consider it old because you set it up 4 years ago. Polish it off and try it again. And especially if you're getting the winter months, one of the things that, I don't know, Angel and I kind of cringe every time we hear this, and we hear it way too often. Agents, it gets to the slow months, are like, yeah, I've done a lot with marketing because it was slow. I didn't have a lot of money. You don't need a lot of money. So much good, or so much good grammar, so much good grammar. So many great tools are out there, are free to utilize. It just takes your time. Again, that's not totally free, but you get the gist. And so repositioning a resource there, or I'll hear from agents a lot as well. I'm really, really busy right now. I got 4 closings this month. I haven't had time for marketing. You can't put your foot off or take your foot off the accelerator. You may want to stop paying for lead sources that you aren't using and you don't have time to manage, and then find another tool or resource to put in there. Okay.
Ding.
Ding. And then when to remove a tool. After you have repositioned it, after you have reassessed it, you've looked at it, it's underperforming, and you've tried everything you can to try to figure it out. And let me just go back to, we keep using Zillow because it's the most popular one out there. I was teaching a class on this topic in Virginia Beach about 4 or 5 years ago. And a gentleman in the back who came in with, he looked like he was left over as a surfer from 30 years prior, because he was, in his 50s. He looked like he was an old surfer, and he's sitting in the back, and he was a little cynical about stuff. I mean, he was polite, and he was supporting me when I was saying stuff right, and the rest of the time he'd fold his arms. But when I went and met with him at lunch to kind of get to know him, because he just caught my eye, this guy in sandals and ripped blue jeans, and a torn T-shirt with hair all over the place, was the number 2 highest converting Zillow agent in the country at the time, out of Virginia Beach. And he went 100% all in. He had 4 people who he paid, who were unlicensed, whose whole job it was to nurture and vet leads to give to him and his team of 3 people. And they were killing it with this. And he said the first 2 or 3 months that they were doing Zillow, he thought it was stupid. He thought it was a waste of money, and he was getting ready to cancel it when they came back with some better deal, better pricing. And then he just went 100% in, and that was his marketing thing. I've heard agents say, you know what, I tried writing a couple articles on my website, and it didn't turn out, and I didn't get any traffic. And then 6 months later, someone reached out because they found that blog post on my website. Or I've tried open houses. I'm going to go back to our beginning conversation. I've tried open houses for years. No one ever bought a house. And then we look at it and go, what are you doing for your open house? Are you promoting it well? Are you getting the word out? Are you running ads? Are you telling people you're there? Are you putting effort into it? And all of a sudden that becomes a good resource for them. If you've done all those repositioning things or reinvesting things or outlining a good marketing plan and it still doesn't convert, or it's just not good and natural for you, then it's time to remove it out of your marketing plan. Not everything that works for other people will work for you, but you also shouldn't do things just because other people are doing them. I recently asked an agent why they were doing the flyers they were doing. Where are you distributing them to? Why are you creating them? An agent looked at me and said, well, because I saw these other 2 top producing agents do flyers all the time. That doesn't mean you should do flyers. There's good reason to do those, but you should do flyers because they fit into your marketing plan, and you've got a idea of how to get them in people's hands and convert consumers to clients.
Something just triggered in my mind when you were talking about blog posts. It goes back to kind of evaluating what you're doing. Blog posts are not typically going to be a lead generation thing that you're doing. But what it does is it builds your local expertise and your credibility online. So just because it doesn't give you a name or a number doesn't mean it's not building your brand. So some of these things, like if you do 1 blog post a month, I know it seems like a lot of time, but you're going to have 12 blog posts at the end of the year, and that's a great way to kind of bring people into your website. I mean, it may not result in anything now, but a year or 2 from now, if somebody's looking for a specific topic, they find you, they see that you're a local expert, and they'll contact you. The story Matthew was telling earlier, I had a video with Coldwell Banker a couple of years ago. The consumer, the seller, she's in Spotsy, saw it on TV. Gosh, she said she was in the middle of the night watching TV, and it was at 3 a.m. It was an NBC open house episode. She wrote my name down at 3 a.m. a year and a half ago and called me just a couple of weeks ago because now she's ready to sell. Like, to me, that was amazing that, somebody saw something and kept my name. But, it doesn't have to be like this huge NBC thing. It can be any video that you have out there. If they're searching on YouTube for community stuff, or just somehow, lands on one of the videos that you've done or a blog post and they like what they see, they're probably going to keep your information.
Yep. And lastly, this has worked for me for a long time. If I didn't feel my advertising was creative, or if I couldn't be creative with, say, a website that comes out, if it couldn't be innovative, if I couldn't do it for things other than what was intended, or it didn't fit into a plan to change the way and direction I typically were doing things, and then lastly, if I wasn't going to have fun doing it, I just don't. I don't have fun doing paper copy. I don't have fun doing flyers. I don't have fun doing newspaper stuff. So I don't do those things. It doesn't mean they may not be effective for other people. It just means it wasn't something I could put my heart and creativity into, or my effort into, and then really enjoy doing it. So I did it as a task. When you're looking at marketing, whatever the tool comes about, take some time to have some fun with it. Try some stuff. See if it works or if it doesn't work. Evaluate it as you go along. But this business can be tough. It can be complicated. It can be even heartbreaking at times. So, and those things that you are able to find joy in, whether it's marketing, branding, reaching out to consumers, being on social and being a good resource for people, do those things. Have some fun with it. Try some goofy, crazy stuff. So long as you're not violating the law, there's no reason not to go out there and see. And then sometimes violating the law may be fun. I don't know what she's laughing at. Go ahead.
Oh, no. Keep going.
Take your time. Take some time to do something fun and goofy once in a while. It's okay. Yeah. One of the a couple years ago, one of the videos we did was, oh my goodness, it was just playing with dogs. I don't even know what it was. It was playing with dogs at a house or something. And that got way more traction than the actual listing video. And people were commenting on it and sharing on the social and all the rest. So why would I not do more of that? I like playing with dogs. Who doesn't like playing with dogs? Jay. Oh, he's not on here. I took a stab at him. He wasn't even here. Have fun with what you're doing. Be creative. Try some new things. But just make sure you've got a plan for what happens when they don't work.
Yep. I think just one last thing.
There was a white dot on that slide. Sorry.
Yes, no, it's okay. We get really overwhelmed with all this technology, but think of it in a different way. The technology is allowing us to do more. I think if you just learn, one or two things and use that in your business, it will actually help you get the time to be more creative, to be more inventive, and have fun. Like, imagine, not having a CRM where you can reach out to 500 people all at once and you don't have to do anything. You can just set it up and forget it, and it's there. You may have spent a couple of hours on the front end to set up, the emails and all that stuff. But once it's there, it's just going to work for you. You're not having to send 500 emails manually. So a lot of this technology, it's kind of outsourcing part of your job. And, it actually doesn't cost a lot of money. You don't have to hire somebody and pay them, an hourly fee. A lot of this stuff can work for you, and you can think about the creativity part and the consumer experience part, because that's where we're really supposed to shine, is on, customer service and getting referrals because of the job that you've done. So that's all I have.
So Angel went over 7 minutes, but
Angel did, yes.
But we still have time for some questions and answers. So if you have some questions, or raise your hand. That's kind of our overview. That's the advice that we have collected over the years of helping you guys out and seeing what works and what doesn't, both for at the business level, individually as agents, and then working with some of you. So if you have some questions, now's the time to ask. And we did record this, and we will be posting it later today. All right, I don't see any hands. I don't see any questions. Awesome. Thank you all for attending today. And also, as Angel mentioned earlier, I don't know if everybody was logged in. The marketing team is going to be doing a drop-in. What are we calling it?
I don't know. Video
Office
chat.
hours. I think that's what it's called. Office
Office
hours
hours.
this afternoon, where you can just drop in, ask marketing questions, and Angel, Poppy, and Jay will fix you. So again, thank you so much for your time and for listening in today. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call or email or text, and we'll be happy to help you. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.